I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
It's 8:32. Good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Emily.
Yes, it's time now for Headline Makers. Joining us to go through some of the headlines is Deputy Editor of Spiked, Fraser Myers, and writer and commentator Candice Holsworth. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, should we go to the bully dog story?
Yes, that's XL bullies in the Sun on Sunday, Fraser.
So there have been people protesting against the ban on XL bullies, lots of unhappy dog owners. But it's interesting that just the day before the march, a dog believed to be an XL bully actually bit someone. So, you know, it's pretty clear that these dogs are dangerous. I think even the organisers, unwittingly admitted this because they told people, please do not bring your dogs to the march. Because can you imagine having all these, XL bully fighter dogs all in one place? It was billed as a family march as well, with lots of children. We shouldn't laugh, but it's, it would have been a disaster waiting to happen.
Well, to be fair, any breed, if you had all those dogs together, it would be...
Oh, come on.
chaos.
No one would say don't bring your cockapoo to the cockapoo convention.
No, I suppose.
I mean...
One funny thing was that actually there was a bit of crossover between... We were talking earlier about the Remain march.
Oh, yeah.
Or the Rejoin march, and there was a bit of a crossover, and, one of the very angry Bully XL owners started calling them traitors and started swearing at them. So there's a bit of a cultural clash there. And I don't know if people remember, there was actually a... pro-Remain march a couple of years ago, built specifically around dogs. Like they called it the wooferendum, people saying,
really?
like, bark if you hate Brexit type thing. And those were a very different kind of dog. They were, the sort of more Labrador type, nicer, calmer dog altogether.
Yeah, well, yeah. Look, I don't know what to think about this. In a way, I don't know enough about dogs to work out if there are actually specifically nasty breeds, or if some of those owners can be quite right and say, well, I've got an XL bully and it's just a lovely dog.
I'm sure most of the owners are just, decent people, but it's clear that... I think it's 70% of the, dog killings are down to this one breed. Now, I don't know what necessarily that this ban will work because, there are different... It's very difficult to classify breeds and certain dogs and, the Dangerous Dogs Act, under which the ban is coming in, is, like, famously an awful and useless piece of legislation precisely because it's so difficult to, determine breeds.
I'll tell you what, and I've said this before on this show, I don't know why. Forget the Dangerous Dogs Act and banning them and all the rest of it in that form of legislation. Bring back a dog licence.
Oh, yes.
And I know it was controversial and it was people cheered when it was scrapped or so. Bring back a dog licence.
Yes, I mean, it's so irresponsible, and these are living creatures. I mean, I've had a dog now for about 8 years, and so I've done loads of walks with her in the park. And you see some incredibly awful dog owners. I mean, like screaming and shouting at the dog. I saw one slap the dog once for nothing. And you just think, that dog can't advocate for itself. It can't do anything. It's just stuck with that guy.
It's a bit like sometimes parents with naughty children. They don't want to accept that their child is maybe the problem, and this happens with dog owners. You have, owners kicking off at each other because one dog's gone after their dog. There's been a bit of a fight. Who's to blame?
The owners are so
it
loyal.
can kick off in the park near me. It can.
Oh dear. Let's have a look at the Sunday Telegraph, Candice. 2 in 5 staff are working full-time in the office.
Yeah.
2 in 5?
So this
is that it?
So this is fascinating. So this is basically about how the different generations are dealing with working from home. So there are these stats. They're saying that 2 in 5 are working full-time, so many are just doing partly at home and then coming to the office a couple of days a week. But younger staff are saying that this is affecting them because they feel like they're not getting the skills that older people had when they were working more full-time. And I feel like many people my age, many millennials, working from home really works for them because they've got little kids, they can sort of balance it. But you forget that people who are just entering the workforce in their 20s, that's the time in their life where they want to be in the office a lot, to meet people, to progress, to learn things. And I wonder how we're going to work that out so it works for everybody in the same way.
Also, it's how you meet a boyfriend or a girlfriend sometimes. Used to be a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Well,
That was how
yes.
you met your future partner.
Well,
and
it
now
worked for you.
Everyone's just... yeah, we met on a Zoom. That's a story for another day. But yes, it's probably a bit miserable, actually, just to be in your bedroom all day in a shared flat.
Yeah, and, you know, there's always talk about sort of loneliness epidemic, and it's not really a great surprise why, if people are sort of continuing the lockdown lifestyle of working from home. I think people do need to be in the office, as Candace says, you know, it's picking up shared skills. You know, so much actually work gets done in... I guess, spontaneous conversations that you can't really have if you have to email someone and arrange a meeting, or even if you have to just, you know, WhatsApp someone or Slack. You do want to just bump into people sometimes and have... that's
You do, but even apart from that, from the younger generation perspective, I do think you need to learn. They call it socialisation. You need to learn how to behave in an office. You need to learn how to have a job and how to turn up to work on time and work with people you don't like and all. And if young people are never learning that now, then what are they going to be like in 20 years' time?
Yeah, and if their experience is working from their bed, essentially, as a lot of people do
There's
now.
too much blurring as well between non-working life and working life, and it's almost this avoidant style of working. I want to do it from a distance.
It's a recipe for passive aggression between bosses and employees. Lots of instant messaging. Where's this?
I mean,
Where's that? Well, you need to sometimes have a bit of a confrontation.
Yeah, well,
or actually a conversation. I think a lot of young people don't like picking up the phone either.
No, that's true. But we did speak to someone over the weekend advocating working from home, and she was a clinical psychologist. You know, it's perfectly possible for her to do that. But she's saying people like to do it because, you know, like me, you can exercise. Like you just take a break and then go to the gym or whatever for a couple of hours. I mean, I'm someone who needs the routine. I'd be useless. I need to say, well, this is when I need to be in the office, and this is when I can leave the office, and then after that, I can do what I like.
Yeah, the separation.
Total separation.
That's what some people said to me during the lockdown. They've said, it's weird. I actually find that I like having that commute in the morning, and then that sets me up for the day, and then I come home, and the two things are different. They're not mixing with each other.
Oh, my God, during the pandemic, I thought that if I didn't reply to a message or an email on my phone, my boss would think I was slacking and not doing anything. But because you just were always available.
Yeah, well, maybe you were slacking on a boat.